I want to talk about tubes. The reason why I want to talk about it is because I feel like there's a lot of misconception and a lot of mythology where it comes to tubes. And I'm a type of guy. I love audio engineering. I love to modify my gear as much as it can be modified. Slowly, I'm trying to learn how to do a little bit more electrical engineering and see how I can change the components. Changing tubes is the easiest thing that can be done by anybody, so it doesn't really require a lot of knowledge. I posted a couple of videos of, about massive passive and stuff, mainly TikTok videos. It wasn't anything too crazy. I got a couple of comments and people were saying certain things, and people are saying the tubes don't matter, this and that. There was a comment, I don't even know who the guy was, but he said something about the massive passive, because I was saying that, I run into the tubes. He said something like, oh, massive passive is a passive EQ. The tubes don't even have any impact on the sound, or very, very minimal and stuff like that. And I keep hearing people yapping, and it's like, people talk, and I understand, it's social media. Everybody can state their opinion. Everybody can say something. What I say, look, what I say, it applies to me. I'm not trying to make anybody believe in what I say. I'm not trying to force anybody to believe what I say. I'm just presenting my own experience with the things that I do. That's just the way how I like to do things. I've been using tube equipment for quite a long time, and I have a couple of pieces of tube equipment. So it's not like I just have one and I have no idea what I'm saying. Like, look, I study this game. I watch things about equipment. I try to understand how it's designed. I try to understand how, preamps are made, like what's the differences between the circuits and like how they react and how the voltages, like I live this, like this is what I do. For me, engineering, audio engineering is more than just profession. It's my life, it's fun. I love doing this and I want to learn. I think a lot of guys, especially younger guys, I'm 39, so I've been living a little bit, I have quite a few years on me. But even when I was younger, I was always fascinated about the gear. I was always fascinated about how I can get my hands on this and that, and how I can just try new things. I've had so many pieces of equipment through my life. Some of them I sold. I regret that I sold them. Some of them I sold, got something else. It's just part of the game. I'm not gonna keep everything, even though it would be nice to just keep every single piece that I've owned throughout the years. But some of the pieces, they were good, but they just weren't my cup of tea. Some of the pieces, I thought they weren't my cup of tea until I sold them, and I was like, I regret it. But maybe one day I'm gonna buy them back. But the point that I'm trying to make is that when you're a nut about the sound, the way how most of the engineers are, I feel like slowly, I'm not even trying to diss anybody, but I feel like slowly with the newer generation, and I'm speaking it from my own experience. I've had interns. I've seen how people behave in the studio. I've seen how people are like very technical when it comes to equipment. They don't know how to work things. They don't even want to learn how to work things. For them, it's just like, oh, let's plug in the cable into the Focusrite and plug in the mic and let's just record. Like, that's the only mentality that people have, which is kind of insane because there's so many great pieces, and I feel like there's an art in trying to get things sound in a certain way. And yes, you can move the plug in a certain way, you can do certain touches with the knobs and stuff, but it's just going to be a very different experience when you have, when you're hands on, you're listening to something, you're tweaking it, and you're pushing the drive, the input, and you can hear the saturation, because the saturation that you're going to hear with the hardware, you're not going to get the same thing with the software. It's just impossible. It's just not the way how the world works. If everything was so easy and beautiful as, the plugin companies always advertise, the world would be a very, very different place. But as I said before, I'm not trying to make it about the hardware and the software. What I'm trying to talk about is tubes. The reason why I want to talk about it is because choosing a tube in your equipment is very important. I didn't realize it. I don't want to say I didn't realize it. I always knew about it. I didn't know how much of a difference it makes until I started, really, really experimenting with getting the tubes. And there's a say that the old school tubes, the ones from the 50s, 60s, 70s, like the NOS tubes, sound better than the modern tubes, because obviously it's a different technology, a different ideology, and back then most of the equipment was running on tubes, so tubes had to meet certain standards and quality. Right now, I don't know how many tube companies there's left in the world, but it's just a fraction of what it used to be. One thing that I want to say regards everything that I said before, even when it comes to tubes, and the guys that say that tubes don't play that big of an impact and all this nonsense. I feel like cheaper tubes, they do the job, you know, they not spectacular, they're gonna work. There's like a specific frequency spectrum in the top end that the cheaper tubes have. And again, it really comes down to preference of how you want your stuff to sound. Some people like it bright, some people like it dark, some people like it silky. Like, it really comes down to the taste. For me, I know the type of sound that I'm chasing, and one of the biggest changes that I've done recently, and I got massive passive maybe 3 months ago. I got it recently, but you know, it sounded great stock. The stock tubes were 6922 Electro Harmonics, and then there was what was the name of that company? General Electronic 5751 tubes. I was searching the internet. I was like, man, I need to get some tubes. So originally I wanted to get the Mahler tubes, but I was looking for, like, I got Mahler tube in the microphone, so I'm aware of the character that it produces, which is a beautiful tube. It's a really high-end, really great sounding tube, but I was looking for something that is a little bit more clinical in a sense, but something that just has the certain type of, not even saturation, but just the way how the top end feels. Like, I always look for things that sound very silky. Like, that's just the way how I hear stuff. So I ended up getting these tubes right here, which are the Philips SQ. So these ones are actually from the 60s, I believe. This is new old stock, which means that those tubes were produced in the 60s, but they were never used. They are expensive. I luckily got a pretty good deal on them, but I was searching online, and these tubes go from anything from $250 to $300 US per tube. I spent much less. I didn't pay that much. Changing those tubes in Manly changed the whole entire perspective on how the mix feels. And I'm not even talking from perspective of, you know, changing the tubes and going back to the mix that I already had before, because, you know, there's definitely a change on that. And I would say maybe even when I recalled the mixes that I've done on the old tubes, I felt like the new tubes felt a little bit, I don't want to say flat, because flat is not the right word, but they weren't as pronounced. Like the top end, like I was missing a little bit of the spark. However, once I started mixing into the new tubes, I started hearing things and making decisions that I have never even thought that I would do on the previous setup. And that's the big change when it comes to the character of the sound. The tubes can really make stuff sound, I don't want to say make it or break it, but those new tubes, they literally sound like, I don't even know how to describe them. They just so amazing. I can hear things, and the harshness that I had before. And mind, the crazy thing is that when I got massive passive for the first time, I thought that the top end is silky. That's what I thought. Until I changed the tubes, and then I realized, like, holy, the top end before was much harsher than I really thought, even though it was already smooth. The tubes that Manly comes with in stock, they still good tubes for what they are, you know? But obviously, manufacturers, they're not gonna put $300 tubes in the thing, because that's gonna just, you know, it's already a expensive piece of gear, and they would have to sell it for even more. I think those, you know, manufacturers always go for more of a consistency. If they can get an NOS tube, or they can get just very small amount of those tubes, as they produce the units, they want to make sure that every unit has the same character of the sound. So I don't even blame them, but that's why, you know, there's market for tubes out there. But what I'm trying to say is that spend a little bit of money, tweak your equipment, and make it sound better than what it can be. There's a channel on the YouTube. I'm gonna put it right there because I forgot the name of it. But the channel basically breaks down how the companies were created, how the engineers went from wanting to always improve their product, wanting to have less distortion, cleaner sound, or some like, and that's the beautiful thing too. I feel like there's not only one way of doing things, right? Because that's why we have so many different companies that have a completely different ideology for what the sound is. Like if you look at SSL is a very different sonic character than Neve, for example. They both amazing, and I love to combine those two because SSL brings something to the table that Neve doesn't have, and then Neve brings something to the table that SSL don't have. When you combine those things together, it's just like, yeah, that's what I wanted, that's what I was looking for. Same thing with the API or Manly, but they have something as well that, you know, certain people might appreciate. So At the end of the day, it's not about this is better, this is worse. It's about choosing the sound that you are going for and making sure that your clients are happy with the sound that you give them. I want to deliver that sound because at the end of the day, for me, is the reputation and it's also my sound. I feel like one of the things that I'm always proud about is my sound. And I always listen to things that I do and I'm like, how can I improve it? How I can make it better? I know what I don't like about my sound. I know what I like about my sound, and things always fluctuate, you know, because sometimes I might listen to something and I'm like, oh, I really like this. And then 6 months in, I'm going to listen to it and I'm like, it's terrible. I don't know why I liked it at the time. But what I'm trying to say is that tubes can change your whole entire perspective on what's coming out of the speakers, and not only what's coming out of the speakers, but like how you twist the curves and how you bend things, how you drive things, how you push things. All of that is going to give you a certain sonic character, but it's preference. You might like it, you might not like it. I love tubes. And I'm the person that used to hate tubes. I was always the solid state guy. I never had a tube equipment. I never planned to until I reached the point where I think my ears matured and I was looking for a smoother sound. I was looking for a little bit less competition. I don't want my sound to necessarily compete loudness wise. I don't want the sound to compete how pushed it is. Look, for me, it doesn't have to hit the hardest. It doesn't need to be the loudest. It just needs to feel right. I'm going for the feeling. I'm not going for the bang. As of now, tubes are giving me that certain character that I was looking for. But anyway, get some tubes, get some tube equipment. Look for tubes that are NOS. Find something that comes from a different era but can definitely add to your sound, add to your sonics. And if you guys have any questions, comment, subscribe. Look, I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying I'm wrong. I'm just giving you 20 years plus of audio engineering experience and music experience. Thank you guys for watching. I'm going to be back. Tube skis. Peace out.